fantasy football season approaching and fantasy drafts in the next few weeks. Here's a few running backs. I have his sleeper options entering the season. The first running back, Rico Dowdle of the Dallas Cowboys. So Dowdle, he's been with this Cowboy organization for 4 seasons now. And last year, he finally got a chance to see the field behind Tony Pollard as a backup. And now with Pollard gone, they brought Ezekiel Elliott back. He was cut loose a year ago, signed with the Patriots. Cowboys bring him in. They signed Royce Freeman. I don't believe those backs are threats to Rico Dowdle this season. Ezekiel Elliott, I believe his best days are behind him. He had a couple decent games, I know, last year at the end of the year for the New England Patriots, but he's got a lot of miles and wear and tear on his body. And Royce Freeman's been a journeyman running back as well, where he's a third stringer. So Dowdle last year, 89 carries, 361 rush yards, 2 touchdowns, 17 catches, 144 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. So Dowdle, even if he's, let's say, in a 50-50 timeshare to begin the season with Elliott, I believe quickly he could take over that backfield for this Dallas Cowboy team. And this Cowboy team, I still believe, are going to put up a decent amount of points per game. They're bringing back the same offense. Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, even though he's holding out, but he'll sign, I believe, towards the end of training camp. Jake Ferguson, Brandon Cooks. So Rico Dowdle, there's going to be teams not loading the box up versus the running game and worrying about CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott driving the football down the field. So right now, if you could get a starting caliber running back in that 11th to 13th round range with decent upside, he's definitely a sleeper running back this season. Next running back, Chase Brown of the Cincinnati Bengals. So going into the year, we'll see if it's going to be Brown or Zach Moss as the starting running back, but I believe it's going to be a 50-50 split. Brown going in that 8th, 9th round range right now in fantasy drafts. So last season, 44 carries, 179 rush yards, 14 catches, 156 receiving yards, and a receiving touchdown. So Chase Brown, he's got upside, I believe. He's a quick running back. And obviously the last few years never had an opportunity with Joe Mixon, who's still a solidified running back. But the Cincinnati Bengals wanted to move on from Mixon in the offseason and thought maybe his better days are behind him. So like I said, I believe Morse is going to be short yardage and goal line back for this Bengal team, where Brown is a better receiver out of the backfield and has more explosiveness. So if you could get Brown in that 8th to 10th round range, like I mentioned, and he possibly could be a solid number 2 running back for fantasy owners entering the season, I think that's good sleeper value. And you never know with the running back position. Guys pop out of nowhere. Last season, Kyren Williams, he wasn't even drafted in most fantasy leagues. He finished in the top 5 last year. Devon Achane, he was a late round pick in fantasy drafts, had the monster season. So like I said, you never know who's going to emerge. And Chase Brown's definitely one of those running backs I think could emerge. And a sleeper this season, next running back's J.K. Dobbins, a Los Angeles Chargers. So we know the talent is there for Dobbins, but tearing the Achilles and an opportunity with this Los Angeles Charger team, who moved on from Austin Eckler. And now they got the backfield from last season with Baltimore, with Gus Edwards coming in and J.K. Dobbins. So Dobbins is an explosive running back, but no doubt about it, I believe he lost a step or two coming off of 2 major injuries over the last few seasons. So Dobbins, he's going undrafted in your basic 10, 12-team formats, but I believe he might have something left in the tank, and he's going to get work. Gus Edwards, we know, is going to be goal line and short yardage, but Dobbins, he can catch the football out of the backfield, and he's an explosive running back as well. So to take a running back who last year was going 4th, 5th round in fantasy drafts, and to get him in the late rounds or potential upside on a Charger offense that I still think is going to want to move the football quick down the field. You still got Justin Herbert there, who's got top 5, top 10 talent still, even though obviously he's lost a lot of weapons in Keenan Allen, Gerald Everett, Mike Williams in the offseason, Austin Eckler. But I believe J.K. Dobbins is a late-round fly and someone just to take a shot on and see if there's anything left in the tank. Could be a sleeper option for fantasy owners. The next running back's Jerome Ford of the Cleveland Browns. So we don't know what the deal is going to be with Nick Chubb, if he's going to be ready week 1 or out the first few weeks of the season. But Jerome Ford, he filled in nicely, I thought, last season for Chubb. 204 carries, 813 yards, 4 touchdowns, but catching the football was his specialty as well. 44 catches, 319 receiving yards, and 5 touchdowns. So 9 touchdowns total last year, and he had 1,200 yards total as well, Jerome Ford. So good numbers he put up, and he had that burst away speed a couple games where he broke a 50, 60-yard touchdown a few times with Jerome Ford, where he knows this Cleveland Browns system. Offense should be a little bit better, even though I thought Joe Flacco played good football down the stretch to help Cleveland get to the playoffs. But now, with Deshaun Watson back in the mix, maybe things will open up a little more where teams will have to respect the passing game a little more as well, and the box won't be as crowded for Jerome Ford. So, like I said, we'll see with Chubb and Jerome Ford, but I believe at minimum a 60-40 split. Even if Chubb's 100%, he's not going to come back and get 90% of the touches coming off the ACL and MCL injury. So Jerome Ford, to get a running back who's shown he could play in this league and put up solid numbers last year in the 10th to 12th round range, is definitely a sleeper. And the fifth and final running back I have is a sleeper. It's Ty Chandler of the Minnesota Vikings. So last season, Ty Chandler, he emerged towards the end of the year where Alexander Mattison just didn't look good and get anything going. So I know they signed Aaron Jones quickly in the offseason, was this Minnesota Viking team. You know, Jones is good to miss a few games every season. So last year, Ty Chandler, 102 carries, 461 rush yards, 3 touchdowns, 21 catches, 159 receiving yards on 25 targets. So Ty Chandler, I think he's a good receiver out of the backfield. This Minnesota Viking team, I think, is going to lean on the run a little bit more, especially early in the season. With even Aaron Jones, if he's healthy, I think Chandler could get work, and I believe Chandler is one of the better cuff running backs in all fantasy football as well. Because, like I said, Aaron Jones, he's been a good back, no doubt about it, but injuries have plagued him throughout his NFL career, and especially the last couple seasons. Chandler, he's going as well in that 11th to 13th round range, and if you could take a flyer on a potential running back who could be better handcuffs, and a guy could be starting a few games this season, that's a nice sleeper option in those late rounds and someone to keep an eye on. So that's a few running backs I have as sleepers entering the 2024 fantasy football season and drafts in the next few weeks.